morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. This is Tony of Comic Conversation, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Alex. Alex, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
All right. On today's show, we will be reviewing Batman 24, writer Tom King, art by David Finch.
Yes, this was a said to be important issue of Batman.
I wouldn't say it was important, but the ending had a bit of a cliffhanger.
Yeah, I didn't really see the ending where it was going, but I guess it made sense. Okay, so this followed up pretty much directly on the button, where alternate reality.
The end of the button, you're like, oh, I wonder if anything's going to come of Bruce talking to his dad. And you're like, no, he's going to go back to being Batman. Even when they showed that one scene where,
well, he didn't quit being Batman in this, so
not yet.
He's not going to, because it's leading right into a Joker Riddler storyline. That was what they teased on the last page.
Who's to say something's going to happen down the road?
But this directly followed up in sort of a good way instead of ham-fisting it in. Thomas Wayne told Bruce, me and your mom don't want you to be Batman. We would have wanted you to be happy. Mm-hmm. And that kind of affected Batman because he'd been doing all this. I mean, that was my problem with it. It was, he's technically doing this so no one has to go through what he went through. Mm-hmm. He's not doing it to avenge his parents. So, I mean, that went through. However, it was technically his dad's last words to him. So, he's talking to Gotham Girl about what she should do.
Funny you should bring that up, because that's been sort of the whole thing he's been trying to set up with Gotham Girl as well, is when he found the brother and sister, he was of the impression that, with these guys taking care of, taking where I leave off, it's like, I don't need to be Batman anymore, because they got superpowers.
Well, yeah, but when he said I don't need to be Batman anymore, what he more meant was I don't need to be alive. I mean, the first issue of this comic was the new King run, was Batman pretty much resigning himself to dying to save some people until they showed up. He never suggested he would quit. He was just saying he wanted someone to carry on after he was gone. It was more, because he said in this, when he was talking to Gotham Girl, he's like, I think his line was, I'm not Batman because I want to be Batman. I'm Batman because I'm Batman.
A great line, by the way.
Like, as in, I don't have any other choice but to do this. And she said, well, are you happy? And he sort of waffled back and forth, and then he said, no, I'm not happy. He explained, I can't be happy because I look at the way the city is, and knowing what I know, if I allowed myself to be happy, then I would be insane. And I'm not insane, so I can't be happy. It was actually, King's really good at this. It was basically Batman psychoanalyzing himself while talking out loud.
Yeah.
And in doing so, you could see how, I mean, Batman is obviously kind of crazy. He dresses up like a bat and...
You don't say.
Yeah, runs around fighting crime. But I would like to think in this, it was less what she said, although she did say exactly what his dad said, that you have a right to be happy. I still like to think that through him describing his own actions, he came to realize it was kind of stupid.
A little bit.
Like, there really is no reason why you can't be happy. You can be Batman and still be happy. So, that gets us to the big movement of this. He tracks down Catwoman and basically says, I've loved you since the first time I saw you. Will you marry me?
It wasn't just that. He was like, the first time I met you, you were sealing this diamond. And after that, I immediately bought the diamond, and I've been holding on to it ever since.
Because I knew I'd need it. Mm-hmm. Which also calls into question, like, he didn't really think he couldn't stop being Batman. My issue with this is, and I do have issues with it, King is a very strong writer, so I'm not really hating on him. I don't feel it's ever been shown that Batman and Catwoman share this incredibly deep love.
Yeah, it's been like a passionate relationship, but it's not like there's anything to build on.
Yeah, like they recently had sex in the comics, but they're into each other, yeah. But she doesn't really know him. he knows her a little better, but he doesn't really know her. They can't really love each other, but Batman thinks he loves her.
Well, to be
so
fair,
he asks her to marry him.
To be fair, it's Batman, and I'm sure Catwoman's the closest thing he has to a normal relationship.
Well, yeah, I mean, the mother of his child is a member of the League of Assassins and Ra's al Ghul's daughter.
Is she currently dead?
I don't know if she's dead, but he wasn't with her when she was alive.
Mm-hmm.
He had the same thing with her. He banged her once. She got pregnant. He didn't know about it. She had a kid, raised a kid. He found out later. I don't think he ever had a particular interest in marrying Talia, marrying anyone, actually. This is all stemming from what his dad told him. And Gotham Girl, basically repeating his dad's words without knowing it, reminded him of this. And he thought, you know what? Maybe I can be happy. I don't know how the Batman marrying a thief is going to make him happy.
Yeah, because I get the feeling, even in theory, if they were to get married and she were to be, entitled to his estate, that she would just continue stealing because it's not really about the money thing. I think she just does it because it's fun.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing is, she very well could say no in the next issue. Or she could say yes, and then something happens that keeps them from getting married. I think
what they're going to do is they're going to punt it. She's going to say, I'm not sure. Let me think about it.
Yeah, and I'm just not sure if this is an interesting, Batman being married.
Well, here's the thing. You and I both know, and everybody listening and watching this knows, this isn't going to be a permanent status quo. If anything, it'll be something they do for maybe a couple months, and then eventually they drop.
But even if they do it, what changes? I mean, that's my question. He's married.
Maybe
he's still Batman.
Maybe they add her, and she's closer to the Bat family. But even then, it's like I don't see that being the new status quo. I think that's okay. Let me correct myself. It'll be a status quo for a while, and then they'll take it back. And if anything, you know what? If anything, I think that's a stronger thing long term if they have that in the history of these two characters. At one point they were married, but now they're divorced.
What I think's going to happen is the next issue is going to have her explaining to him all the reasons this is a bad idea. And explaining that, yeah, they don't actually know each other.
Well, considering the next issue goes into the next big storyline, we may, like you mentioned earlier, we may not even get an answer. Well,
yeah, she's probably going to say something, and then something explodes, and Batman has to run off to go investigate. I mean, it could be as simple as that. I'm complaining about this and the lack of any sort of deep relationship, but the thing of it is, Batman has gone through something fairly traumatic. This traumatic isn't really the word. He's had a big event in his life. He talked to his dead dad.
It doesn't have to be bad, but it was certainly traumatic.
Well, it was important. Yeah. He talked to his dead dad, and his dead dad told him, you're not living your life the way you should. And then someone who he was trying to make follow in his footsteps told him, you aren't living your life the way you should. You're allowed to be happy, which he had never considered. Now, Gotham Girl was actually interesting in this too, because she's asking, should I be a superhero? And Batman is replying, well, what do you want to do?
And she said, at first I just wanted to be a normal person, but my brother wanted to be the superhero, so I just tagged along.
Yeah, but I mean, when he said, what do you want to do? Her response was, I want you to tell me what to do. Which was actually the saddest thing in this comic. But, point taken for her.
Well, she doesn't have like a family, and
yeah, she has nothing now. She decided to be a hero, by the way.
Yeah, but let me say this about the Tom King run so far, and I'm not really criticizing it, as I see this could maybe be a problem down the road. King is so great with his character work; he can sometimes get away with very little happening.
And very little happened in this.
No, but and that's fine. And up until now, the 24 issues, he's been pretty good as far as something tends to usually happen long term. I'm afraid that long term wise, he may fall on that crutch just because he knows he's so talented when it comes to his character work that eventually we could be getting 3-4 issues of Batman and nothing happens. But because his character work is so good, maybe I won't complain right away, but then eventually when he starts doing this a lot, eventually it will start to bother me.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, like you said, Tom King, the one thing he's shown is he does characters incredibly well. That's why this has worked and is completely different from Scott Snyder's run, which was not character driven in the least.
Yeah.
It's why his Vision was so successful. It's why they're giving him a Miracle Man maxi series. Characters is what he does. Good character work is what is needed in comics right now. You're seeing this in the kind of stepping away from big events and stuff. People are tired of mega stories that mean nothing. And I think they want books that focus on the characters we're reading. Marvel could do very well with this, with all the new characters they're failing to get over.
I think part of it is because they do focus on the big events, but then also you look at creatively on that side of the tracks, really, who do they have as far as character work? Bendis? Like, if he can focus on one character?
Bendis has his own issues, though.
But that's another thing I'm thinking about. I'm sure if we thought about it for a while, we could think of people that are just as good, if not better, character work. But really, King is one of the best.
At Marvel right now?
No, I'm saying just in general.
Oh, I thought you meant at Marvel.
Like I said, I'm doing
Robinson, who is incredibly uneven, I thought did great work on Scarlet Witch. Much better than I would have expected. He took a character who they kind of fundamentally changed, and he had to come up with like he had to redo her character.
By the way, did that book end? I can't remember the last time we read that.
We read what was the last issue of the first, the big mega storyline that's been going on since the start. But I don't actually know if it's continuing or not. He's writing something else coming up. But my point being, he did a book that was very focused on a character, and I know it started to come out at the same time as Vision, so I thought maybe it was going to be a trend at Marvel, but then, we got Captain Marvel, which was more of the same Captain Marvel, and we got Unstoppable Wasp, which was, I suppose they're developing a character. It's just different from everything else she has ever appeared in and everything else she currently appears in. We don't read the Riri book, the Iron Man book.
Yeah.
The Doctor Doom book, which was a new status quo for Doctor Doom, the infamous Iron Man. We read that for about 4 issues, and they never did anything with the character. He was just going around doing things.
Yeah, I keep tabs on it. I can't say I actually read the book, but from what I've heard, they've been doing stuff with his mom, and then his mom is dating Maker.
His mom is alive again?
Yes.
That was nice of Reed Richards. Maybe that's why he's not evil.
Maybe that's why she's dating Maker, because she knows he's Reed.
Well, except he was evil.
Yes. Well,
that's evil Reed.
Her son was evil, so maybe she's used to it.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, but no, the character work in comics, it's, Rucka did it, and it's more of a DC thing right now, but that was necessary because they, were re-altering the universe. Like, Rucka did it a lot in Wonder Woman. He had to have a comic that came out twice monthly and do 2 different storylines to do it, but he did it. Flash has been a lot of that. Titans has been a lot of that. Teen Titans has been doing it. I think DC's just more character focused right now.
Yeah, right now. I wouldn't say long term, but yeah, definitely right now with the Rebirth stuff.
What's Marvel gonna do with Secret Empire coming out? Like, what? They're like, let's define all these characters.
Well, you could say they're maybe doing stuff with Steve, but that's about it. Everybody else
that's a temporary thing.
And you know what? Honestly, I'm sure if there were some decent tie-ins, I'm sure they'll do stuff with Black Widow, but aside from those 2 characters, there's no real focal character on Secret Empire.
The Black Widow change has been very yes or no thing. It's like, she is the one who wants to kill everyone. because it's important, and she's an assassin, remember?
Yeah, it's more so, I think she is an assassin, but just after all the stuff she's seen, after all the stuff she's experienced, she's sort of been pushed to that point.
Well, she thinks Hydra and Cap is that bad.
Well, remember they mentioned earlier they like half a dozen times a dozen times they've tried to do something to fix Steve, and every time it doesn't work out, and a bunch of their friends die. So
we might as well just kill him.
Yeah, I think that's where she's at right now.
Fair enough. I wish they'd kill Sam Wilson. Actually, he's not Cap anymore, so I don't care. Not my Cap.
Hashtag get back the shield.
Why did Nick Spencer take so long to make that book good? He wrote it for 23 issues before it became kind of good.
We read most of them. That's the sad thing, too.
Yeah, well, it got better now.
Yeah.
So, he stopped joking around, turning them into werewolves and stuff.
It was really cool at first. Remember when he did all that stuff with that border, the people hanging out at the border, the Sons of the Serpent? And he was doing really cool stuff, and then immediately went to like goofy, let's turn Sam into a werewolf.
Yeah, because the gimmick it was going to be like Social Justice Cap, which, is different.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was actually like, okay, that's, because it's always been my opinion that when you put a new character in a role, you have to change the role. Like, if you replace Captain America, he cannot be just like Captain America.
Well, that's what the Remainder series was. I get the feeling he did that because you had a new character, and I think it was going to be too much of a change, so immediately he just wanted to say, okay, Sam's Cap, and he's going to act like Steve, but this is the new Captain America going forward. After a while, people got used to it, and then Spencer came in and allowed to do other stuff that made it interesting.
Yeah, that's correct. Sorry, Jack's bothering.
It's okay.
He doesn't care. Wait until I'm done, bud. Okay. Yeah, he's done now. Yeah, they can't. Whatever, it's too late. They've done what they're gonna do, and it's done now.
But, I wouldn't say a hearty thumbs up or a 2 thumbs up, but certainly a thumbs up for this week's Batman.
Yeah, it was one of 2 issues in between a bigger storyline.
All right, so from all of us at Common Conversations, thanks for checking us out. And as always, check you guys out next time. Adios.